Welcome to Insights. I'm Eric. I'd like to have a discussion about Bitcoin here. Bitcoin has been relatively consistently up. The primary trend has been up. The composite trend has been up until just recently, and that's why we're going to have a little conversation here. The monthly trend has been up for 9 months. It's produced a 244% return for that. That's what the evolution of the trade follows. Within that, there's a definition of the composite trend, which is made up of the daily, weekly, and monthly together. The weekly trend has been up for 33 weeks, and it's starting to get a bit extended in terms of 33 weeks now. It's at its mean, and now the daily trend was up, but it's flipped down, and this is marked by the first date. That's a breakout down, and there's a 1 count here. So what's taking place is a consolidation here within the evolution of the trade. This is the alignment and energy phase. If the daily trend turns down and then turns back up, we'll get a reset. That should, who knows when it's going to happen. These daily trends down usually last 2 weeks or so, but there's a lot of volatility, so there could be multiple flips up and down and up and down. But the fact that the market is not very organized and is losing organization places it within consolidation. So the composite trend has lost its description here. There's nothing to say that the alignment inside the 3 time frames is in agreement. So within consolidation, we're going to have to watch energy. Energy is 34 and 28 with DI and DI2. We've talked about that before. We'll take a little brief discussion of it here. But how the invisible hand steps in, whether this number rises and represents accumulation or distributes, will be an important future indication of whether or not the daily trend is going to turn upward again. It's going to be supported, and kind of gives you a feel of how deep this correction will go and whether or not the correction will expand. And this is the grayscale tracker. It's turned down. This is the kind of like the Bitcoin spot price. We see it's up right now before we open here in New York. But that's, again, this could be a continuation that flips this back up. We'll have to see. I mean, it's just the trading day is not over. The fact that we lost daily alignment right here, you can see by the LTCO and the LTRV, they're both below 0. This can be a brief stay, but in general, the unshaded regions tend to last for, fairly wide. I mean, it's not just small slivers. Even within these points, these unshaded boxes last multiple weeks. So it's unlikely that this will be reversed, quickly within a day or two. And it's possible, but that's not the odds favor a longer period of consolidation than that. The weekly trend is still up. That's the question, is whether or not it's going to maintain up like this period here or up like this period here. Both were long blocks. This is a relatively small block. It kind of gives a normal, a mean cycle reading right now, but this can extend beyond that. The monthly is up and it's relatively young. We know that by these cycles here. They're both negative and pretty largely or pretty well below 0. So that suggests to us that the primary trend is still relatively young at 9 months, but we can lose, the trend can become disorganized and we can lose this primary trend. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. It's really the energy that's going to be important on Friday, and I would suggest to watch it closely. We're currently at 34. Do we climb higher, or does it start to roll over? If it rolls over as price curls over, and price curls over in the daily, it suggests distribution, and distribution is more or less favors continuation of consolidation or a deepening of the correction. If you have any questions about the evolution of the trade or the 3 time frames, anything about here, the energy, let me know. There's some links under the video, brings you back to the blog. You can search a lot of that stuff. It's in written text. You can leave comments below. Suggest subscribing to the channel. If you're a Bitcoin trader, there's a lot to learn from Bitcoin that can be transposed into other markets that you may or may not be interested in. Many are interested in other markets as well. The evolution of the trade really follows the same type of trading discipline. It removes the emotion that makes it difficult for us to act impulsively, which is something that any experienced trader knows you have to drive out of the equation. You cannot react to a rally, you can't react to a decline. You have to play it by the rules, essentially, or your trading discipline. And we're going to wait for a reset. The resets tend to follow certain time cycles. I can't really give one out. I can give a general one out, but it may not reach that point exactly. Usually 14 days. Yeah, that's usually the average. Could be longer, could be shorter. This could, in fact, downward, in fact, into the weekly. I've talked about in other reviews. We're going to have to watch the dollar. The dollar is going to probably dictate whether or not other assets are going to sell off. It's difficult to imagine that Bitcoin's going to take off while other areas are getting pulled down if that's the outcome. Bitcoin's probably represents an area of profit of which if there's any forced selling anywhere else, Bitcoin, it would be a logical candidate to raise some funds in order to cover the leverage that other people have. And there is plenty of leverage in this market with options at record highs or option creation. If the market gets in trouble, I would assume it's going to pull down Bitcoin, and it might not have anything to do with the quote unquote fundamentals of Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency. It just could be a matter of transferring what's profitable to cover what's not profitable. That's a common characteristic in all types of markets for hundreds of years. It's margin selling is a common thing. So we'll have to keep an eye on the direction of all sorts of things, the bond market and the stock market. But Bitcoin, it plays a role. Everything is interconnected. Bitcoin does not trade in a vacuum. So if you have any other questions, let me know. Consider subscribing to the channel or like this video and pass it around. I think the crypto community probably needs to be exposed to at least this form of trading discipline. Whether or not they adhere to that, that's their choice. But thanks for watching and have a good day.